Alright, we should be good to go. Welcome back everyone to yet another Moonshire Monday, and I am so excited for this one. I have so many things to show off, and I'm very, very, very excited because we have a very special guest. It's not just me, this stream, because if you take a look behind me, look who it is. It's my cat. It's Misty. She's actually here. Look, there she is. But she's kind of shy though, so that's why she's like hanging out off screen. But she's behind me. She's actually here today. Adding triple jumps and worried about scope creep. I'm gonna show off exactly what I'm talking about. So today, different chair. I'm actually, last week I did this too, where I changed out of my recliner into something that's more upright. So it's a better posture position, I would say. But yes, the title is true. I wanted to play around a lot more with the elevation stuff that I added recently. So in case you missed some of the recent streams, I've been showing off how the game is, well, there's some broken tiles here. The game is a lot more vertical, where you can jump now, so the player can jump. And not only that, you can like jump up onto elevation. Like this. And like this really tall one, you can't jump up onto it because it's too tall. But I could jump up onto this one, and then jump up onto it, and then I can make it up here. So the game has elevation, true elevation, into the Z-axis. Yes, exactly, Adele. There's a Z-axis, but it's all conceptual. It's not like a 3D engine or anything. It's just the math is performing a lot of extra Z-axis calculations, so it knows that like up here the player is really high up, and so it's not like hitting this wall, but when you fall down, now you do hit the wall. That's the hardest part, is that like the collisions around it is really, really complex. Is creating games in C++ harder than Lua? It's just depending. So C++ is an older language. Lua is a bit more modern. So Lua has some features that are more streamlined, maybe like the tables and stuff are really flexible. But C++ is really old school, and it can work on like anywhere. It can be used for like embedded software. So it's really, really modular and really flexible with where you can use it. This game looks so good. Thank you. Appreciate you saying that. Future 34, Real Con, Real Dan. I found a way to make a 3D maze first-person explorer in Love 2D using optical illusions. Yeah, cool. That's really awesome to hear. Because in general, 3D games are just like, it's still a 2D image. Like this screen here, even if you're playing a 3D game, it's a 2D image. Like your game monitor is a 2D flat screen, so it has to convert a 3D game world into a 2D image. So all of it is optical illusions. You could make a 3D game in Love 2D. That's just because 3D games really are just 2D, 2D, what is it? Images of a 3D space. So yes, today the title is not clickbait. It is real. When I say triple jumping, that refers to the Mario version of triple jumping. So in my game currently, you can jump, and I was really inspired by Mario, like Mario 64, and you can do a double jump. I call it a double jump. It's when you jump off the ground, you get a little bit of extra height. It's kind of hard to tell. But then the triple jump is when you do it 3 times, and you get a spin jump. So the game has like transformed into this like crazy, this crazy acrobatic game. And the reason why that's so fun is like I was showing how before you can't get up onto this really high ledge here. You can jump up onto these short ones, but also if you use the triple jump, you can get up onto this tall one. So I'm gonna triple jump over here. There we go, like that. You can get up. That's not quite as scope creepy as I thought. Yeah, it's more of just like a different built-in feature, because it's like Mario 64 where you can just start the game and you already have a bunch of cool movement abilities. I think that is a cool idea to put that in the game. So I think that the triple jump fits right in, And I am gonna have to account for this though, because now the player can jump really high. You can jump normally, but you can also like try and combo into something cool. And I really like the spin, the little spin effect I added to it. Image trick jumps like in Super Mario Odyssey. Oh yeah, trick jumps, sure. And there's a little bit more that I was working on too. And this is something that I kind of need your guys' input. Can you triple jump without moving around? At the moment, yes. I know that in Mario you do have to have some sort of movement going. But yeah, at the moment you can do it in place. So that's not all. That is just phase 1 of like the cool movement options. I'm planning to add SFX. Yes, I am. So in the original engine, there is sound effects, but I haven't put them in this new one yet, just because it's still being ironed out. I want to make sure that the actual fundamentals are in place before I put in the sound effects. But another Mario 64 inspiration that I wanted to put into the game is I added a crouch. And this is something that I am going to be needing a lot of input on, because the crouch in Mario 64, it enables you to do like this crouch jump. There's an ad. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try and backflips maybe. Well, what I added is I added a long jump. So when you can crouch, when you're walking, you can crouch and you like slide a little bit, okay? So you slide whenever you crouch. Like that. So I'm still holding left. I'm still holding right, and you slide a little bit. Okay? But if you jump while you're sliding, you do a long jump. And you get a speed boost, and you can chain it into a triple jump. Oh, it's so much fun. And you get some momentum. Oh, it's so cool. Oh, I love this game now. Whee! I love it. It's so cool. I did so much. Yeah, I know. I've been having a lot of fun working on this game. Now the question is, can you reverse the long jump? I added some logic into it, so I'm gonna show some of the logic. I think I want to change it. Will this only be available on Steam? At first, yes. Can you reverse a long jump? Actually, it stops you. Looks like. So when you, whoop. Yeah. So actually, right now, it looks like when you change directions, the player faces what direction you change to, but it still maintains. That's really weird. It still maintains some momentum. So the way the long jump gets faster, you get like a speed boost, and it does that by applying a new data structure that I provided for the vessels. I think I called it Rush. No, it's not in Vessel. Where would it be? Would that just be in Mob, maybe? Rush. Where did I put it? Did I name it something different? Whoop, Vessel. I swear there's a Rush option somewhere. Where did I put it? I swear that it was just right here in Vessel. Here it is. It's in Mob Move. Okay, so it's specific to Mob, not Vessel. I probably should change that. But what I invented is this Rush concept, which is just a number. This is like a multiplier, and it's a multiplier that's counting down constantly. And if you rush at like 2, for example, it's gonna double your speed, but it's always going to be decelerating during that time. Excuse me. Old School Geek, Rick Carlson. Thank you so much for the donation. Supersized McDonald's Monday from me on me today. Loves new gameplay. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. That's amazing. Thank you so much for the donation. That's really generous. And thank you so much for being a member too. Super appreciate that. Yeah, I'm really excited for the new gameplay and the new movement options. I think it opens up the level design options a lot, and there's just, it's fun. It's just fun to move around like this now. Hope I enjoyed the McDonald's. Oh, I definitely will. I always do. Oh, that's so cool. I had a jump. Yeah, the game is like a platformer now. And really I did this because of the stream. I was streaming earlier, like a few weeks ago, and I decided to add the jump, and then someone's like, oh, well, if you add a jump, you should be able to jump up on these walls, because these walls were in the game, and when you jumped up onto them, you wouldn't be able to jump up onto them. They were like impenetrable walls. I say, nice upgrades, thank you. How will this affect the existing game? I think everything about the existing game is going to change to kind of accommodate this verticality. Can you long jump up platforms? Yes, you can. So it's lower. I actually have that defined in jump and crouching. Okay, here it is. Here's the stats I included on it. Okay, so when you do a long jump, it makes your height go to 85%. So it is lower, but you get the speed boost. And this is the thing that I think I want to change at some point, where right now I have this boost rush multiplier. It's kind of confusing. I think that it would be better if there was just like a true physics momentum system, because right now it's not really using that. Why do you suppose developers don't already do this? It's hard to do. Like, all this stuff is kind of challenging. Have I published games before? I have not published anything for money. I posted things on like the Google Play Store and App Store, which, by the way, I think it's going to be coming back online soon. My game is on, I think it's on iOS in North America, but nowhere else at the moment. I need to get that fixed. But it should be fixed soon, actually. I better be able to crit Guma Stomp with a third jump. Oh, so yeah, I'm still not actually done with the stuff that I wanted to show, and this is part of why I need to stream and get some opinions on this. Is the crouch? I'm having like second opinions on it. Like, the crouch is cool, and being able to long jump is for sure going to stay. I definitely want to keep the long jump. It's so much fun, and you can like chain long jumps together too, like this. Oh, it's so cool. That is so cool. Super Mario now. Lovier, can't wait for the next demo update game to drop. Yes, thank you so much. I think what I want to do is, as soon as I possibly can, release a version of this engine for people just to try out and play around. Because, oh man, I still have more stuff to show, but I'll go ahead and show it real quick. Last week I was also showing how you can edit the levels, and you would do that by grabbing a sign, going to the terrain editor, and now you can see like all the terrain like this. So if I wanted to add like, I don't know, I could extend this wall out a little bit more and make it like this, and make it a little like that. Okay, and then I can go back here, and now oh, that looks really weird. So the tile generation is really complex. I still need to work on that. Also, that was really bad too. Clearly, the level generation part it still needs some work. I'm not gonna lie. But what was interesting is that before you had to actually go into this view, this like terrain view, and then regenerate the level. But I have changed it. I have updated it. You can make edits in real time. This game has changed into a sandbox game. Look at that. You can change it in real time and add in the layouts. So like, there's an actual level editor in the game now. Oh yes. It shows your @username. Yeah, I know, it's so annoying that they recently did that. But like I was showing Old School Geek, his says his @ now, so I was just kind of like jumping back and forth. Yeah, I'm not sure why it changed, but yeah, it did. I'm going to show off a very critical issue that I'm noticing with this setup before crowdsourced maps. This is kind of part of it, is that I think I'll be able to make cool maps, but I think the community will be able to make better ones. Notice that there is a missing terrain right here, and that screws it all up. See, like, I can like walk into it, and the whole thing is all messed up. And the question is, like, how do I click on this space? It gets all screwy. Can I delete these? I don't think I can. How can I do this? I think I can go over to this, and we're gonna grab this. So I added a pickaxe item, and the pickaxe, it actually kind of shows you where the tiles are, because this is the weird thing about this tile elevation system, is that, like, you see here, this ledge is, I pointed at my screen like a child, but this elevation here is only one tile tall, and that's how you can see the blue tile and the yellow tile, but this one's two. So that's why, like, covering this side, it shows you where, like, the ground is and where the surface is. And it works with these really tall ledges too. Like, oh, what the heck? That was weird. I guess it doesn't work very well with some of these. I need to work on this a little bit more. It's kind of buggy with its tile identification. But the whole idea is that like when I click here on this corner, it's pretty clear which corner is going to get cut out. I guess that's kind of awkward with the way that it's currently. Oh, it's so buggy. It's so buggy. It's really buggy. It's really, really buggy. I don't think I can, Long story short, oh my gosh. Oh no. Yeah, I can like really destroy my whole environment if I play around with this. Yeah, that definitely needs some some work. Everything is buggy at first. Yeah, I'm being patient with it because it's getting better every day. And really, it's only mainly a problem when you're doing it the like in-game way. When you're designing things through this interface, there's not really too much problems. Nice music, by the way. Thank you. I like my playlist options in general. I want to add a feature where people can type like ! like, and then it will help me keep track of which songs people like the most. But a cluster of elevation like this is currently just no good. Like you can see all the tiles get super messed up. And this is something that's going to take a lot of work to figure out. I mean, it's already been a lot of work to figure out how to generate these tiles based on elevation. It's already really hard, let alone when they get combined. I haven't started that process yet. Are sprites 16 by 16? Yes, they are 16 by 16. Build my own base that will help in use investment. If I can build my own base, that will help in use investment. I mean, that kind of makes sense. When will this game going to be released? I don't know exactly. The next step is posting a whole new demo that people can try out with this new stuff. Any plans for the day? The main plan for today is literally just to focus on better features or talking about the different options that I added to the game. And like for example, the crouch is something that I'm thinking about changing in a way. Because right now you can crouch, but when you're on the ground, you just kind of like sit there and nothing happens. I guess you can fall off. There you go. Oh, I'm sorry. Jeez, I am so sorry. I keep opening my game on one screen and then playing with it, and I'm so sorry about that. Okay. I was saying like the crouch, for example, is something that I want to talk about today. I want to try and see if there's a better option for it. Because, like I was saying, the main cool thing that you can do with the crouch is that you can do the long jumps. Also, let me turn off the hitboxes and stuff. So the long jump is really fun, and I want to keep that. But besides that, crouching is kind of lame. I tried to experiment a little bit with it where when you crouch in the air, you fast fall. So, like, you can do this by holding crouch whenever you're doing that. So even when you get really high, you can like fast fall really fast to the ground. And I did that. That was like a Sonic inspiration because in Sonic games, it's really cool when you can like dash to the ground fast. Is dash still in the game? No, but the long jump kind of replaces that. So crouching in the air kind of makes sense. And what I kind of want to do too is make it so there's like a crash attack. Like if you fall from if you fast fall from high up, it'll do like a big explosion or a big impact effect around you that can hurt nearby enemies. A ground pound, yeah, exactly. I think that my interpretation of a ground pound would be more flexible than, because in Mario, when you ground pound, Mario kind of like stops. It like kills his momentum, but I don't really want to kill momentum. I think I would want to like ground pound like that. Fast fall, I know what you are. Yeah, I know. But that is what it is. It's just we're fast falling. Also, I just want to say it's really cool to be able to come up here. Here's a bug though, is if we show the fields. Oh, look at the water down there. There's water down there, but it actually comes up. Oh wow, this is really, really laggy when I go in this view. Oh, that's weird. That's super weird. I don't know why it does that. Crouching can also be used to dodge certain attacks. Maybe. Yeah, I think that maybe I could lean more into it, because right now the crouch is kind of minor. It does, in fact, it doesn't even change your hitbox if I show colliders. Like, crouching doesn't really change anything. I could, but would that really be used? I don't know if that would be useful. Should I use AI as a beginner? I personally do not recommend AI as a beginner. Using AI is essentially the same thing as asking someone else to do the work for you. And when you're learning, you can't be doing that. You have to do it yourself. So I really don't recommend it for beginners. And even myself, I'm starting to like have a little bit more questions about it, because there are times where I feel like it's useful and times where I feel like it's a little bit wasteful. Face reveal. I've been showing face for about a year now, but you're right that I haven't really been doing much. My actual model doesn't change much when you crouch. The hitbox should stay the same. Yeah, I think that the hitbox should stay the same. But at the same time, what I was getting at is, what if crouch also was like a run button? So right now when I hold crouch, it like stops you. It doesn't stop you. You start sliding, but when I press buttons, like I can't move. I don't move around. So the idea that I'm considering is, what if when you are holding crouch, you are now running? So rather than like stopping, rather than like sliding to a stop, you enter like a running state. So now you would just like, I could like speed up this run animation, and then your running speed is faster. And then when you jump while running, that's when you do the long jump. So rather than a crouch jump, it would just be you're running and then you do a running jump. I think that would be an option too, but I don't know. A crouch is kind of cool too with its verticality and fast falling nets. Oh, this is another thing. Wolf, you're gonna totally tease me on this. Is I may have added another feature from one of my favorite games, where the fast fall, you can fast fall directly into the ground, right? Like if you fast fall like that. But if you fast fall very quickly, I added a little bit of a forward movement like that, huh? So you do a very small jump and then immediately jump into the ground like that. We're so back. I know. We're so back. Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I had to add wave dashing. But the thing is, yeah, melee, exactly. The thing is, it's not very useful, because like in melee it's useful, but in this game it's like, imagine if there was a wave dash in Mario 64. I don't really think that would be very useful. Maybe it would kind of be useful. What approach should I do to learn and be able to actually create and solve problems when writing code? Yeah, that's a challenging process, and my advice always is to taper it and like start with really, really easy projects, like dead easy, like Pong, hashtag Pong mentioned, and then build up to the next game. The next game can be like asteroids, and the next game can be a platformer. So the trick is just to build up the complexity over time, and it's got each of those games, even the easy ones, are gonna be really hard, because like drawing graphics to the screen and storing values, save data, and UI, all that stuff is really challenging. So just take it one step at a time, and try not to get overwhelmed, because the main problem that people run into is they get burnt out because they challenge themselves way too hard. They get way over their head. It's really easy to go into it thinking, I'm gonna make this awesome game, and when it just gets too difficult, it's really tempting to just quit. So the goal is just not to have that happen. Mario 64 already has hundreds of movement options. I don't think a wave dash would do anything. Yeah, kind of. That's true, is that Mario 64 already has so many good options, is that by comparison, wave dashing isn't very useful. It is technically 3D, but without voxels, things like his little water problem happen. How do I see character behind tall walls? Yeah, that's a good question. I should add that. Something like Mario Sunshine, there's this feature where when you're behind the walls, you can see your character silhouette. And I think it would be really cool to add that to this, because yeah, like right now, if I turned off the colliders and stuff, like you literally can't see the character at all. A melee-like thing could be used in this game if there's lots of enemies. The problem is this game feels like an enemy thing. I think that it just needs to be all balanced around that. So in this new engine, I haven't really added enemies yet, but one thing that could happen, for example, is if I spawn in, I think that I spawned in a character right, where is it? I'm trying to spawn in an extra player character. Mob create, oh, H, I need to press H. What I'm trying to do is spawn, where the heck did it go? Oh, here it is. There's my little friend. Okay. There's a little guy. It's like that Spider-Man meme. I guess I could add another one, and then we can have the actual Spider-Man meme. There we go. What I'm trying to do is what you're trying to do. What I've been trying to do this for a very long time. Look up Game Maker Crab on YouTube. That was my channel from 2009, and I was doing exactly this way back then. It is hard to do what I'm trying to do. So my advice is always to taper it, to start with easy stuff and build up from there. What I was going to mention is that since jumping is a part of this game now, that means that jumping is kind of part of combat. So I made sure that, like, right now you can swing your axe and stuff, and there's combos, and you can attack in the air. And you can even attack really high in the air, too. Yeah, so everything, and actually the shadows looks pretty good for that, too. So that's set up fine. Then the question is the jump. And I already added it so that jumping onto props, like, breaks them. So I can take this barrel and I jump onto it. Oh, wow, that looks weird. That looks really weird with the thing floating, but... So jumping onto things can harm them, and it's the same with these mobs over here. If I jump onto this character... Well, actually, I think that this particular mob is immune. If I spawn in a... How about instead of H, let's do... O. And we're gonna create dummy. Because I have another mob called dummy that we can use, and that one can actually take damage. So we'll spawn in the hero, which is right here. There you are. Oh shoot, the dummy's gonna spawn in behind this thing. I need to get rid of this big, there we go. Oh, the guy is gone. So there's this. And then, there we go. Okay, so this is what I was gonna show, is that you can attack enemies by jumping on them. I don't know why, it makes all the tiles flash. That's so weird. Spawn into the mammoth. I actually haven't put the mammoth into this version yet. I need to. Or even elevated hitboxes on oversized creatures. Yeah, everything has a Z height. If I go into the physics, colliders. Actually, what would this be? Create. New, maybe. Not collisions. I'm just trying to find the, here it is, collider. So, collider, there should be a Z height somewhere. Width, center, here it is. Okay, Z-axis positioning for 3D collision detection in 2D space. So there's two factors here. There is the .z position. I can make this a little bit bigger too. There's the .z position. This represents how high into the air the thing is. So right now the character is at height, or sorry, at Z value 0, and when you're in the air, it goes up. Okay, so Z increases that way. But in addition to that, all of these physics objects have a Z height, and this Z height represents how big, how tall the hitbox, the collider actually is. Because when we look at the colliders for the character, it's just like a box, right? It's an octagon. And you can't really tell how conceptually high this box is because we can only see the X and the Y axis. This Z axis where it jumps into the air, like look, there is no change in the hitbox here. There's just like an invisible Z height to it. And so that's how it's able to consider that during all this stuff, and Z height factor is just something to help with calculating the Z height. So in all of these calculations, wherever it's determining overlap, it actually adds the Z height to it, and it considers it as part of the stuff. Help you find the air attack that you were looking for. It would be nice if you crouch midair with a staff, you pull a Scrooge McDuck. That's a really cool idea. We could do something like that. So, I mean, the thing is, you can triple jump really high, and then you fall really fast. And I should make it so that when you fast fall, you can chain it into the triple jump. Because right now, I think it actually cancels the triple jump if you fast fall. Which I don't know, it shouldn't do that. In Mario 64, if you, well, fast fall, you just let go of A. You can still triple jump after that, I think. It's possible to add some kind of zoom out or offset when jumping, just for more immersion. Yeah, I could totally do something like that. I'm not sure if that would be distracting or not. Maybe I could. I'll think about that. That's an interesting idea. Because that could totally work. Get in there. I'm worried the jump is going to make the game too complicated. I think that it's going to make the game... I don't think it's going to make it too complicated. That's a really good call out, though. I think that the game is going to remain largely the same, but there are going to be aspects of it that can be maneuvered around or skipped, possibly, if you know all of the advanced tech. So I think I want to make it so at no point in the game is it ever necessary to triple jump. Because in Mario 64, I don't think there's ever a point where you actually have to triple jump. It's helpful when you can. It makes a lot of stuff easier. You can, like, breeze through the game if you know how to triple jump. But I don't want it to be required. So I think any required content is going to just have a simple jump, like this. So getting up onto a ledge right here is going to be part of the game, where you jump up here, and then you jump up here. But then the advanced players are just going to go whoop, whoop, and get up here. Triple jump is always the same height, no matter your speed or how long you hold A for. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I think a lot of these things should be unlocked with time, similarly to skills in Hollow Knight or other Metroidvanias, possibly. It depends on how integrated I want it to be in the main game, because this is the thing. My game, and if you play the Steam demo, the game isn't like a platformer. The game isn't really designed in that way. The game is like a combat game where you have the different weapons and you fight all the different enemies, and now jumping is going to be part of that combat. But I don't think that requiring the player to jump around, like using this advanced tech, I don't think it's going to be required. I think that mainly attacking and regular jumping is going to be required. So if all this other stuff is fully optional, I think it's kind of cool to just have it be there from the beginning, where if you know how to do it, you can do it, and if you don't know how to do it, then it doesn't really make any difference. Can you show some new bosses? I haven't worked on bosses for quite a long time. It really has been a while. Is that animation a placeholder? Are you talking about the spin? What do I have left to do before release? I have so much stuff to do before release. But the flash when you hit the dummy is cool. I like the flash when you hit the dummy, like, where is it? But I don't like how all the tiles in the world flash. That doesn't seem right. That just seems busted. I think that it's like reapplying a color shader or something like that. I think this game looks incredible. Can I recreate this game in Scratch? You can try, but it would probably be really hard. I mean, it's really hard to make a game like this, period. But yeah, I'd say go for it. I think that if you have experience, but here's the thing is, like, a game like this is really, really hard. So if it's your first game, I would not recommend making a game like this. The spin looked funky when you're holding the sign. Oh yeah, it does. Actually, that's something I was thinking about doing. Is I noticed specifically for any weapon that you hold upright like this, the spin looks kind of strange, because the spin is like it points in only the primary directions. So what I want to do is make it more so it's like the axe. The axe kind of spins at a diagonal, which feels more natural when it comes to spinning around. Also, please let me know if the stream starts to stutter. Hopefully it doesn't have any problems. Look at the cat. I'm very happy that she's here today. Misty! She's a star. Can I add variations to the same weapon? Yeah, that's something I'm thinking about doing. I'm also thinking about doing something where you, like, unlock upgrades or something. Misty's the best. I have a cat. Yep, I have a cat. She doesn't show up for stream very often because she's kind of reclusive. She's kind of a scaredy cat. What do I think about platformers as a genre? I think they're very fun. I love platformers. I love movement games, and I love games that can that have a high skill ceiling based on what you're able to do. Dummy is just filling the pond. So these are actually heroes. What the heck? Where did he go? Something's really wrong here. Any tips to keep yourself motivated for the project? Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how I stay motivated because this is just all I've been doing for 5 years or so. She's not scared. She's like, Dad's taking care of himself. Yeah, exactly. I'm talking to myself, basically. She doesn't seem to mind. She likes sitting by the window. I actually got the stream while I was live. Hi, yeah, welcome in. I'm glad you could be here, Codemaster. What I was showing off is how the game has lots of jumps now. And honestly, it is really cool how... Oh, I got rid of that platform there. I need to bring that back. Friction is different in water. I think that's exactly what happened, is that if we look at the mob, there's a dot damping table here, and this shows us, this is the list of all of the different damping. This is what you call friction in like Box 2D physics programming stuff. So damping, the higher the damping, the more friction you have. So you can see here it says base 12. Sorry, my nose is running. You can see base 12. That is a higher number than water. Water is base 3. So the friction while you're in water is 4 times less than it is in base. So that is exactly why the the character got so much. Why is water less dampened though? The water is less dampened because look, when the player is walking around, look at how the player like slides to a stop, kind of. It barely slides to a stop at all. There's hardly any slide. That's because the damping for base is so high. But in water, it's low. So when I go into the water, which the hitboxes are weird, but now when I stop moving, you can see the slowdown, and like it feels a lot more slippery. Like you let go, and it feels like I'm like trudging through something thick. And that's a combination of the low damping, but also when you're in the water, your speed gets decreased. So it's low damping, low speed, and that creates like the feeling of going through water because you're moving slowly, but you don't have much friction while you're in the water. You kind of move around very fluidly. But then when you're on land, you are like glued to the ground. Not necessarily glued, but there's a slide, but very minor. How does the game react when you get hit while crouched? Do you get pushed far back? Yeah, you would. I haven't tested that yet because at the moment the enemies don't fight back. But you are 100% right that in its current format, if an enemy was crouched, or if anything was crouched, if the player was crouched or if a mob was crouched, and you hit it, it would get knocked back like crazy. And this is kind of the problem. I don't want damping. I do not want damping to control how much knockback something receives. It shouldn't be a factor at all. All that I want to be a factor of is how quickly you slow to a stop. When you get hit by an attack, I want the enemy to always fly back roughly the same amount. But the question is, how quickly does it slow to a stop? Because when you're on land, you slow to a stop very quickly. And in water, in water you kind of slow to a stop. You slow to a stop less fast than on land, obviously, because you would like float to a stop. Add a rolling fall animation when someone is attacked when crouched. Yeah, that's something I could do. Maybe it's a fix. We can create table inside table in Love2D. Yes, you can do that infinite number. Well, not infinite. You can put as many tables inside of tables as you want. And I'm going to step through my game to show that because it goes very deep. In Love2D, your game in Love2D is going to be all contained within main.lua. So everything in my game stems from these 16 lines. There's only 16 lines in this file. But what happens is I created this game object. I call it object, but it's a game table. Game here is a table. If I go over to game.lua, game is a table. And I'm assigning all of these properties to it, but again, properties are just values stored within a table. And it has this dot lookup, so it's just like a freehand, short, easy way to do all this stuff. And notice, I'm doing the exact same thing in all these places too. So when it's requiring game.load, it's putting game.load. Load is its own table. If I go into load.lua, actually in this case, load is a function, but the other ones, like event, I'm pretty sure is a table. Event. This one is also a function. Some of them are functions and some of them are not. Physics definitely is not a function. Physics is a full-blown wrapper. So physics is like this big table. Physics is a big table, and I have all of these functions assigned to physics, and one of them is the collider function, which this collider function creates a new, where is it, collider? It creates a new collider table, and it returns that. So the whole game really is a collection of its game, and this is my own format, is game has a load table, or a load function, an update function, a draw function, but game also has all of its other modules, like physics and view is its own table, pause is its own table UI. I think that these are all tables, and these are all functions. That would make more sense. You think you'll try to get a publisher? I don't think I'm planning to get a publisher. The main benefit of having a publisher, well, there's lots of benefits, but a key component of that is the financial benefit, is that they pay your bills for you, potentially. And that's not something that I need right now. I'm able to pay my own bills, so I can get this game to the finish line. So if I'm able to do that on my own, I think that'd be cool. But also, a publisher can help with other things. They can help with marketing. It just depends on how much stake they have. Because this is the thing. If I'm paying a company to do marketing, but they're not receiving revenue share, what's their incentive to try very hard with the marketing? And on the flip side, if they are receiving a bunch of revenue share, that gives them an incentive to work really hard on the marketing, but then they receive more of my revenue. So there's there's pros and cons of doing all that stuff. There's a balance. At the moment, I'm leaning towards just doing it all on my own. I don't think I'm going to need it, but we'll see. It's hard to say. I'm gonna go animate now. Awesome. I'm glad you could stop in, Mariah. But anyway, to answer that person's question, you can have a table inside of a table. In fact, Lua programs and Love2D programs, that's pretty common. That's pretty much how they're all built. So, that's about that. Excuse me. One thing I was talking about earlier is if the crouch button should be changed to a run button. So right now, you crouch and you slide to a stop, and you can do the jump, the crouch jump. That's really, really fun. I want to keep the long jump for sure. But what could I do differently while crouched? Because while you're crouched right now, when I press any direction, nothing happens. You're just like stuck in place. You can slide to the stop, but you're still stuck in place. And I'm wondering, what if I changed it so if you are holding the crouch button while having no direction, you're crouched. That makes sense. But what if I start holding a direction? Maybe that could be the run like flag, you know. Happy Thanksgiving, thank you. When's the game releasing? I've been waiting for a long time. I know it's been a wild ride. It's been coming and going. It's been really, the reason why it's taking so long is because it's been changing directions. Like the game that I've been showing on the TikToks and shorts and all my videos and devlogs and stuff, it's gone through so many different iterations. And the current iteration is just another one. It's just, I'm changing my mind on a lot of different things to make sure it's the right direction. You can make a specific attack when crouched. That's a cool idea. Because right now I have it set, and actually it was kind of tricky to do this, where when you're crouched, it just does attacks normally, so it doesn't do anything different, but I could have it set up where, while crouched, it changes the attack to something different. That's an interesting idea. That would set it apart from other games, because if I just made it into a run button, that really does change the game into like a very fast, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think more about it. Maybe you could block attacks when crouching. Yeah, that's something I was considering too, is a parry. So I could have it set up where when you crouch and then you let go, maybe the moment you let go could be a parry. So in order to parry something, you have to fully crouch and then let go. And that's the timing behind it. I think that would be kind of cool. It could be sort of a quick dash attack, like a Cyber Merchant down tilt. I see what you're saying. Or like Kirby's down tilt. I think that's a cool idea, just because that fits into the scheme really nicely. And also it kind of meshes with the long jump, how a crouch plus jump equals a long jump. A crouch plus attack equals a, like, dash attack. That's kind of a cool idea, actually. Yeah, because then what if you crouch attack and that launches you forward, and then that could be like a momentum. It could provide you some momentum. That's an interesting idea. I think that could totally work. I love this die. Yeah, this is one of my favorite ones. In fact, I think I kind of need to change a lot of these dies. These are the current ones I have. And the colors, I think, got screwed up when I translated them over into this new format. Because before, I had my colors for all the characters, like, hard-coded into the sprites. But now I have... How do I have this set up? I have it in color. The color of anything gets remapped through shaders. So, like, when I apply the orange dye, it literally applies these 3 colors to the player's animation. And similarly, when I apply, like, the red dye, it takes these 3 colors and applies it to the character. And I'm noticing when I go through these different colors, some of them look kind of off. Like, this one looks strange to me. It almost feels like it's too green. Although the scene is green, it's blending with the scene. Maybe the scene is just, it's just too green, and that's making it look weird. This looks fine, but something about it just feels off. Same with this. Something about this feels off. I need to fix these colors. I think it's too saturated. Like, nothing else in the game feels like it has this shade of green. If that makes sense. The parry might be a bit too much, I think. I feel like it might get a bit too complicated. Yeah, that's definitely something to be concerned about. And that's something I actually fought against a lot. Because if you look at some of my devlogs, I've talked a lot about different ideas and features that I put into the game. Like, I had a mana bar for a while. I had, like, a durability bar. I had special attacks. There were some other crazy... then there was shattering. Shattering's not in the game right now. I need to figure out if that's going to be a core mechanic. And I remember thinking, like, man, this is starting to add up to a bunch of different things. How many buttons do I actually need to accomplish this? And right now, with all the stuff I've described, there's the attack button, there's the jump button, and there's the crouch button. And that's really all that's needed so far. And then the reason why I think I'm kind of okay with adding, like, a parry... especially if it's something that you unlock. Maybe the parry could be something that gets unlocked. The reason why I'm okay with that is just because it doesn't add an extra button. If I was adding an extra parry button, that was like it was one more thing that people had to keep track of in their heads, then I think I would think twice about that. Because one of my complaints about Donkey Kong Bonanza, so Donkey Kong Bonanza just came out on Switch 2, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's by the same team that made Mario Odyssey, and I liked it. I thought it was a good game. One of my complaints with it is I thought that the controls were a little bit too complex, where there were so many buttons on the controller, and every one did something a little bit different. And I felt like I very frequently, while playing that game, would hit the wrong version. For example, in Donkey Kong Bonanza, you can smack the ground, But there's a hit the ground button, there's a grab at the ground button, and then there's a slap the ground button. So there's a slap ground, there's grab ground, and smash ground. And I thought that it was confusing having 3 different buttons all do very similar things. And that's something that I'm really trying to watch out for. If I really wanted to add a parry, I would not want to add an extra button for it. But when it's like tied to a pre-existing action, like the crouch that's already in the game and has other features, other uses, I think that it kind of feels right because it's adding extra complexity to pre-existing features. Breath of the Wild also uses every button, but it's much more distinctly intuitive what every button does. Yeah, you're right. When I played through Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I didn't have that complaint. Even though, you're right, I think Tears of the Kingdom has just as many, if not more, controls than Donkey Kong Bonanza. But while playing through Bonanza, I felt like I needed to be... Bonanza is more fast-paced, I think, is the key thing. Bonanza is like a fast platformer where you're constantly doing stuff. So you're pressing buttons a lot. I think that's the key thing, is that in a platformer where it's action-oriented, it's really hard when you have so many different buttons and so many different actions. You can't really take it too far. I think that this Indigo one looks nice, but even this one, I feel like it's a little bit too strong. So what I'm thinking about doing is, at some point, I don't know if I want to do this now because it's gonna be kind of tedious, is going through all these colors and reducing the saturation of all of them, because I think right now they're all a little bit too strong, where they don't quite fit in. Reveal my keybinds. Reveal my keybinds. I mean, the keybinds for the game? So the way the keybinds for the game work, if I go to schemes, I've been working on this too because the number of inputs has been changing. But this is what it looks like. So this is all the inputs that the game has currently. And honestly, when I look at this list, that's a lot of inputs. The one that I have not talked about, actually, there's a few of these that I have not talked about at all yet. But we obviously have up, down, left, and right. That's WASD, or the arrow keys. Or your joystick, it works with controller too. Attack, crouch, jump. And then, this is something we should talk about too, is check. Should there be a check button? You can see colors by values in VS Code. If you put the hex value, yes. I don't think I installed any extension for this. No. 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 Yeah, I think that this is just built into VS Code when you type it as a hex value. Checkmate, yeah. What check would be is, in the game currently, when there is something that you can interact with, like an anvil to change your weapon. Right now, you interact with it by attacking. So you walk up to it and attack, and that's how you interact with it. And that's intuitive because, like, the attack button is the left click on PC. Pressing A to attack, to interact with something also makes sense. But this is the problem, is what if an enemy was attacking me right here? What if an enemy was over here attacking me, and I was standing here, and I was trying to fight back, and then I try to attack, but then it opens up this menu. And it's like, oh man, when I'm standing next to this anvil, I literally can't attack at all. And for a while, I was thinking, should the game just never put you in a situation where that would happen? Maybe I could make it so any interactable objects like this get disabled while you're in combat? Or the alternative is make it so there's a specific check or interact button. And that is what I did currently. I haven't fully decided on this because I really am not a fan of adding so many buttons. For a while, I wanted to just keep it the attack and jump button or the attack and roll button. That's it. My code is interesting. I use VS, not VS Code. Interesting, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that my code is cool in the way it's organized. But VS and VS Code are very different. VS Code is a lot more lightweight compared to Visual Studio. But they're both good. I've used VS a lot in my life. Don't you think jump equals interact makes more sense? It depends. But then that raises the same problem, though, because then the problem becomes, oh, I'm a happy little jumping boy, and then, oops, I tried to jump, but it opened me up into the menu. So it really is the same problem of I'm trying to do one action, be it attack or be it jump. It doesn't matter which one I choose. It interrupts gameplay in some way. So even if there was enemies nearby, like I still want to be able to jump. So if I couldn't jump, that's still a problem. Mapping the 4 face buttons to attack, jump, crouch, and check seems pretty natural. Yes, and actually, I have my controller here, and I kind of want to demonstrate what my goal with the controls is. Oh, this feels so nice. So I'm playing with the controller now, and right now I have it set to A is attack, B is crouch, and then Y is jump. And the reason I chose Y for jump is because then you can roll your thumb to do the crouch jump. You can roll BY really easily. Because like in Mario 64, you could do the crouch jump really easily because the Z button was on the back of the controller. I guess I could have also tied this to one of the triggers, but I personally, I found it the most comfortable when you go like B, roll onto Y to do the crouch jump. Oh, that's another thing I haven't shown yet, actually. Another feature is if you crouch and then jump, it starts you off on the second bounce of the triple jump. So instead of going bounce, bounce, triple jump, you could go crouch, jump, triple jump. I would have it button as crouch, as B as attack. B as attack, maybe. Yeah, right now I have it set to A is attack. And by the way, all of this stuff is customizable. You'll be able to change keybinds. Am I able to show that? I think I can show that real quick. It's really screwed up, but yeah, I need to fix this menu. This menu is really, really broken right now. Clearly, it's just straight up broken. But it shows you, it doesn't. You can barely even see what each of these are because it's cut off. But what you'll be able to do is click on any of these to remove them or add new ones to each category. Yeah, the game's kind of in a rough state when it comes to all the individual features. All I'm doing basically is recreating all the current Steam features in a way that's just not bad. I would instantly remap that. I've gone 25 years having jump on A or B, not getting used to Y. I mean, every game does it differently. Like if you play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, the jump button is the X button. So and you can remap it in that game too. I'm saying what's best for my game. I think that in my game, because if jump is A, then how do you crouch jump? Because rolling from, this is the problem. This is why. Rolling from B to Y is a lot more comfortable than rolling from B to A, because A goes to the right and my thumb goes to the left. So that's why I really feel strongly about Y being the jump button. Are there any non-indie games that are most like Moonshire? I mean, I wouldn't say pixel art games aren't really being created anymore from companies. There's some exceptions, and there's some like pixel art corporate games, but at the same time, we haven't seen pixel art type games because the hardware hasn't been a limitation anymore. I always point back to like the Game Boy Advance as the last good generation of pixel art games, because that was one of the last generations where they needed to use pixel art. And I would say like the closest example is like Minish Cap maybe, but even that's not really a good example. There's an indie game called Hyperlight Drifter, which is kind of similar in a way. But that's still an indie game, and it's not. There's still quite a bit of differences. Those are different. Those are similar in the sense that like the combat is similar, because all the stuff, there's multiple games behind it, because now I'm adding an additional game of, now there's a platforming challenge in addition to the combat challenge, in addition to the like exploration challenge. So the game is starting to scope up a little bit, I think, in terms of what it has to offer. By the way, I really like that I can come up here now and just like jump up onto these cliffs. It's a little bit weird. Is the character supposed to blink that much? Are you talking about when I go between elevations? Because yeah, like that. It looks kind of weird whenever it overlaps with you like that. That's something I need to work on. It might also be the stream. My screen is stuttering a little bit when I walk around. But I think the flashing that you're seeing is whenever I change elevations or walk off of a ledge. Fall damage? No, I don't want to do fall damage. You can see that the player falls behind the platform when you fall off of it, in some cases. Any advice for me as a beginner? My advice is just to start making any game that you can think of, but make it really simple. I always recommend starting with something like Pong, because even a game like Pong is very, very hard for beginners. It's a really good way just to get your feet wet. Just try it out. I think he blinks a little bit too frequently. Oh, you're talking about his eyeballs. Yeah, he is blinking too much. What the heck? Yeah, it's sped up. Yeah, you're totally right. What happened to him? Something's wrong with his eyes. What happened to his eyeballs? Is it still doing that? It's back to normal now. What happened? All that jumping dried his eyes out? I mean, that's kind of what it seems like. But why? Maybe every time you spawn an NPC player, it calculates... Oh, maybe. Okay, we can try that. Okay, so I spawned... one more. We should have independent eye... Yeah, they're independent eye instances. They're fine. Okay. Moonshire is blinking SOS. That wouldn't surprise me. Get in there. I banish you to the water. Okay. I don't know why that happened. I'm gonna bounce around and see if I can trigger it again. Why would that happen? Maybe What did I do? What did I do that made that happen? All I was doing was bouncing around. What's the logic behind his blinking? What could be the reason it sped up? I guess we could dig into the code. Whenever I'm debugging something, I almost always like to reproduce the bug first. But we can look at the code too. If I'm not able to reproduce the bug, then I will start looking at the code. But it would be very, very helpful if I could figure out what's causing the bug, because then I can like trace it back that way. But if I can't do that, then yes, we're just gonna have to take a look at the code. Wow, that is not right. Break the barrel. Yeah, we'll try breaking the barrel. Maybe swimming. Remove the shadow from the ground if you were high level jumping. Well, so the shadow is important, and that's kind of a point of controversy, because that is something I should probably fix. You're right, when you stand on a ledge like this, the shadow is on two places at once. When you fall off a ledge, the shadow goes down to its true position, like down there. May I drop a nit? Yes, you may drop a nit. For nitpick. Maybe just lower the opacity. Maybe. The shadow to indicate current Z value in a 2D game makes sense though. Oh yeah, I definitely want to keep the shadow. Like, also notice that the shadow like shrinks. Hydration checked. Thank you. The shadow shrinks and grows. The shadow corners. Yes, the shadow corners are too sharp. I agree. They are. Boing, boing. Oh, I just love this. It's so much fun. And it's only gonna get better because, like, there's no sound effects. Imagine Mario with no sound effects. And there's no, like, I need to add, like, dust particles when you land. Oh, man, it is kind of annoying. So, like Wolf pointed out earlier, the high jump is lower, so it's hard to long jump up onto platforms. But you still can. I was trying to do it right here. Yeah, what the heck? It didn't work. Small camera shake after a really high fall. That's a good idea. Yeah, what I wanted to do is make it so that when you crash down, it'll have like an impact spot that will damage enemies. Like, whoops. I'm thinking more about the idea that Wolf had, where you are crouching, and then you attack, and that does like a unique move. What would that look like though? Here's what I'm thinking is like, also I'm gonna turn off the hitboxes, that looks so ugly. Oh, out of bounds camera. I should show that too. That's a new debug option I added where the camera can like look out of bounds and you can see it over there on the left. But then when I turn out of bounds camera off, it snaps back into the bounds of the game. Very good game, but I saw some bugs and glitches. Yeah, there's a bunch in that demo. I would say almost all of them are fixed in this recent version, or at least they need to be retested. Things are very different now. Crouch plus attack equals lunge. Yeah, that's kind of what Wolf was suggesting. So, for example, also, man, it looks so ugly when there's debris just like in the water floating. It's so bad. I wanted to get rid of that. Simplistic combat companions. That's something I could do. As long as it's optional, and like I would want there to be a pretty good reason not to use it too, because if I'm being honest, I'm actually kind of picky when it comes to familiars in games where sometimes I don't even really like them. How do I program vectors? So I'm using a vector library. It's the hump vector library. What engine do I use in stream yet? Surprisingly, I don't think it's not been asked very often. Well, too late. I'm using Left2D. Tried changing the player color. I think that sped up the blinking. Oh, what if it did? You're right, maybe it did. That looks faster to me. I think you're right. Dude, you're so right. You found it. Good job. Thank you. Spyro had sparks. Oh yeah, I like the PS1 health systems like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, where you have like the floating companion. That's a cool idea. Now that's an interesting idea. I like that one. Okay, so now that we know what's causing the blinks to speed up, let's analyze what happens. Over in button, when you click on a die, it looks like this is a little bit hacky, but it finds the player mob, and if the player mob has a set outfit function, then it calls set outfit, so that's all fine. So the problem happens when we reinitialize the outfit, probably. So let's go over to, I think it happens in hero. Set outfit, okay. Init hero. So init hero is being recalled, so something must be going wrong here. Blink timer, blank count. I think... I think this is the problem, is that when the hero gets reinitialized, well, when it gets initialized for the first time, it sets the blink timer and the blink count to 0 because it just got created. This is what creates those values. But when you change the color of the mob, of the hero, it's going to call this function again. It's going to reinitialize it. And it was hitting this line here, these lines, where it set the timer and the count to 0, which I have to imagine would cause problems. So let's see if I fixed it. We're gonna go ahead and swap colors around a few times. It's still going pretty fast. Yeah, that didn't fix it. Okay. So let's take a look at how the blink timer is being updated, because it's going to be updated from here. See, this is what makes me worried. I'm very worried that this update function is being called multiple times. Override update for blink timer. Oh, I don't like that. I think that's definitely the problem. Is this is re-overriding the update function? I don't think that you can do that after initialization. But why would that shouldn't change too much. Is this an independent project, or do you have other people helping me? It's mostly just by myself, but I have commissioned other people to help out with some of the artwork and some of the testing, so I have some other people helping me out. Sorry, give me one moment. I'm thinking hard. I'm thinking hard about this. Why would reinitializing it... Won't the introduced elevation make enemy AI quite a lot more challenging? Yeah, it will. But part of what makes this manageable is that before in the game, the enemies were entirely separate entities from the player. So this player object was entirely separate code from the enemies. But now I've merged them. So this hero is just a mob. So all the mobs, the dummy and the slimes and the bunyip, all that stuff is going to be just the same sort of entity. All the bosses, everything is going to be a mob. And since it's all part of the same being, I really think it's going to have a lot more simplicity when it comes to controlling them. Because before, it was hard to have the AI component of the enemies, have the decision-making. You have the decision-making process of the enemies, and then the actual, like, execution of those decisions. The enemy has to decide to walk left, and then it needs to execute on that, where it actually walks left. And then same with attacks. It needs to decide when to attack, which attack to use, and then it needs to execute on that. And now the execute part is taken care of, because it's the same thing as a player. Anything that the player can do is something that any mob can do. That looks really weird with his neck. But now, all that's going to be hard with the mobs is implementing that decision-making aspect. Happy to be my rubber ducks for this bug? Oh, I'm happy for that. I need more rubber ducks. When I am bug fixing, you can fix the little water bug from earlier by defining the swim state in the same area of code where you touch land. In short, register your liquid as solid land for now. I don't think I really want to do that, because the movement is very different while you're in the water. There's more than just damping that changes. So the damping gets reduced, but also the player's speed gets reduced, because even though it looks like I am moving slower, but when your damping is much less, your speed has to be much less, otherwise you fly forward. And I think that's kind of the problem, is that I'm too heavily reliant on the friction to influence the character's speed, when really I don't want it to. My basic tutorials really helped a lot. Awesome, I'm glad to hear that, thank you. Does it usually stop updating the old character look? I think it's running the update function and stacking every time you change die. Well, yeah, that's kind of what I think. I'm just trying to understand kind of why. Is that over in Hero is... I think that by resetting this self.update, it is like you said, it's stacking up multiple references of self.update in the same spot somehow, in some weird way. And I definitely don't want this. I think what I want to do is move this over into mob. Is that right now, all of this stuff related to blinking, I have it hard-coded. Whoops. I dropped something. I'll drop my phone, no big deal. Oh, okay, so the blinking, I had it hard-coded to this hero.lua. Hero.lua is this character, by the way. And I'm like, okay, well, if blinking is going to exist on the hero, we'll put it in hero.lua. But that's actually not really what I should be doing. I should allow any mob to have this blinking logic. So I'm going to actually put this into mob update. And this is going to go here. No, actually, I kind of want it to go after all that stuff. I'll put it here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that much. So I'm going to say mob.blink timer. I'm going to replace all these selfs with mobs, because that's how we reference the mob in this function. Okay, so now, instead of it being specifically hero with this blink timer thing, all mobs... Oh, actually, I should add another if mob.blink timer. Then... Okay, so it's only going to perform this blink timer stuff if there is a blink timer set. And actually, I for extra safety, I'll go ahead and check and this. So as long as these values exist, which they don't exist on all mobs. A lot of mobs, in fact, none of the other mobs except for Hero has a blink timer or blink count. But now Hero is able to simply set... It's just able to simply initialize it with a value there. As long as it's not nil, then it'll start blinking. But then there's definitely more blink stuff. Eyes. Oh, I don't know about this. I think that I am going to leave this eyes function in here for now, because moving this out is going to be a really, really big challenge, because some of the stuff is kind of hard-coded to hero. But I think that should fix it. Genuinely. I think that the problem was that it was overriding update every frame, and it was like stacking a bunch of logic together. So your enemies are going to blink while standing around waiting to see you. Yeah, basically. I mean, potentially. I think some... Oh, no. Look what happened. Oh, no. He's blind. Oh, no. He can't see. What happened? Okay, why did that happen? Oh no. Maybe, I guess I could just reset to 0. Maybe that was... No, he's just like... He just has like dot eyes. Oh no. Oh no, I don't... Oh no. Okay, I think that... Oh, where is eyes being called? Eyes. It's being called in here? Well... Oh, it's dot draw. Okay, this is the problem. Ah, here we go. I figured it out. I figured it out. It's if mob.draw, then... how should I do this? Because this is the problem, is that it's actually if mob.draw.blink timer, but that's kind of annoying to have to type this out like that. Local BT equals... because I don't want to have to type out if mob.draw and mob.draw.blink timer, because then I'm gonna have to... Fine. It's just, this is very wordy. Here, I'll do, local BT. There we go. And then I can just say BT. Oh, but it changes it here. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it. I wanted to clean this up, but not happening. So, I think that was the problem, is that this blink timer exists on mob.draw, not mob. And I was directly... the scope creep has gone too far. Well, let me show you what the triple jump actually looks like. Okay. We're back. The eyeballs are open. They're blinking. Everything's good to go. So the triple jump is not like you can jump in the air. It's that you can do like a Super Mario triple jump, like boop, boop. Whoo. I love the triple jump. So like this platform over here, this is too tall to jump up. It's too tall to jump up normally. But if you do a little bit of a triple jump, you can get up. I love it. Okay, so the eyes look like they are working now. I still think this is horribly ugly. I'm gonna say local MD equals mob.draw. And then I'm gonna say if MD. Because I just don't like having to retype mob.draw. Okay, that's a little bit better. Whoops. Oh, come on. I just accidentally closed all my tabs. Ah, so annoying. Do I unlock it as an upgrade? I'm not sure yet, but probably not. I think I want to make it so that the triple jump is just like a native ability. And I also want it so it's going to be optional, how you don't even need to use it ever. You can just do regular jumps and the game will be just fine. What else do I need to fix for the blink? I think that that's all I needed to... Oh, wait, I didn't actually test to see if it fixed the dye problem. So if I change between a bunch of colors... Nice. That's awesome. Okay, cool. It got fixed. Since mob.draw is a table, creating a reference MD will be fine. Just another reference to the same table object for those in chat who don't know. Yeah, that was something I was considering when I wrote this out, because references in Lua can get kind of tricky because they're not explicit. In like C++, you would have to put like a pointer reference, and that makes it more clear. But in this case, MD is a reference to mob.draw, so when I say MD.blink timer, it literally is the same as just literally saying that, because it's just holding a reference to it. I fix it? Yes, I did fix it. So I'm ready to go ahead and save this. And we're going to... And actually, that's a good thing that I wanted to do anyway. I don't want this hero file to be so big. Because this is what this is. This file is the code that is specifically for the player mob. Now, the thing about the player mob is that he's not that much different from any other mob. It's the same as, like, if you think of, like, Dark Souls or Elden Ring or any game, really. Like, the enemy characters are not that much different from the player character. Like, if they're all humans, they're all just human characters walking around. But the difference is just that the player has control of one of them. What I'm getting at is that it's going to be really possible to... sorry, I thought I heard someone knock on my door. It's going to be really possible to control other mobs rather than just the hero one alone. I think it'd be pretty cool. Sorry, I got spooked. Someone knocked on my neighbor's door, and I thought they were knocking on mine. Okay, so I'm glad that I was able to clean this up a little bit. This hero file is very long. What I want it to be more like is like this dummy file. So this is the file for the dummy. And even this, I don't really want this in there. I think this gets handled automatically. I don't need to have that. If there's no sprite, it handles that automatically. I don't want to have this there either. What I'm getting at is I want every enemy file, like the dummy, to be very short and simple. I don't want to have any custom logic in here. All I want to have is just the like its speed, no movement. How much health does it have? Its shadow stuff, its movement and dimensions and stuff. All of these are just like properties of the enemy. And when modding comes out for the game, when I allow people to make their own enemies, the process is going to be exactly the same. You provide the sprite, you provide all these details for how it works, and then the rest kind of like handles itself. And Hero, the player mob, is currently breaking that rule. It has a lot of custom stuff. And over time, I'm going to be trying to move as much as possible from here over into mob, so that way any functionality that the player has can be applied to any mob. And that's just, I like having a lot of options for the enemies. It would be cool if the player is able to triple jump, maybe it would be cool if an enemy could triple jump, or do an air dash, or a dodge roll, or wave dash around. I don't know. I'm gonna head out. Have a great one. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. Idea for future Easter egg. If the hero jumps on from a high cliff into water, have a special animation for high dive with a somersault. That's a pretty cool idea. I like that. Then you can make a mind control weapon. You totally could. I was also thinking about like some kind of multiplayer mode where one person plays the hero and one person plays the bad guys. I think that would be cool too. So there's a lot of potential with that. But like more than just the gameplay potential, it's convenient to work with because everything is the same. If there's a bug with the hero, I can assume that there's going to be a bug with anything else. And then fixing that bug in one place will fix it everywhere. That's the double-edged sword of programming, is that if you organize your code well, you only need you only need to write your code once in one place. So like the mob is the one point that everything points to, and then like hero is just making small adjustments to it. And the nice part about that is, well, it's like I said, it's a double-edged sword, because if there are bugs, then there's going to be bugs everywhere, because this one file impacts every single enemy. Or what is it? Mob update. This file impacts every single enemy. As opposed to just hero.lua, this would only impact the player character. But it's also nice because then if you discover a bug in one place, you can fix it, and then everywhere will receive that bug fix. But also, to add to that, when you fix a bug, it can break other things. So if I, like for example, I added this code here into mob update, and it worked. But the truth is, what if I added this code here, and it caused something else in this file to break that I didn't realize? Like what if one of these values was being used elsewhere in this update function, and I didn't realize it? And having this block of code in here was breaking things. Things are still working properly for the players blinking, which is what I was trying to fix. But since this mob update file is being used for every single mob in the game, it has the potential to cause issues everywhere. So that's the double-edged sword, is that when you have everything modular, anything that uses a module can be impacted by a bug, but also any fix can be like picked up by it, which is also important. The mob is involved. I use the word mob very loosely. In fact, I never really liked the word mob all my life, because mob is a term like mobile entity. I think mob got popular with like Minecraft, and I didn't really play Minecraft, so I don't have any nostalgia for the term mob. But mob, M-O-B, is short for mobile object or mobile entity, which is super vague. That doesn't even mean anything. Mob just means anything that moves. So the player is a mob and enemies are mobs. In Minecraft, I think that the enemies are considered mobs, and that's just what mob meant. I thought mob meant gang. Yeah, that's what traditionally, like an angry mob. Right, exactly. Why not use inheritance/polymorphism instead of putting it into mobs? I mean, that's what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. Is that mob is the parent, and now the mob, the parent, has the blink logic, which gets passed to the child, hero. Hero is the child. It receives the inherited properties. I assumed mob meant for NPCs that have a tendency to hoard. Nope. Mob term predates Minecraft, commonly used in some MMOs. Yeah, I assumed that it was before Minecraft, but I think that it got popular with Minecraft, because I personally have not, I still, to this day, don't think I've heard it used outside of Minecraft. I've only heard it used inside of Minecraft. So that's why I say popularized, but regardless, I kind of picked it up because I like it. I like the word mob because it is so short. It's so short. It's shorter than the word enemy, and it's more clear. It's more clear because a mob mobile object is vague enough that you can apply it to the player. You can apply it to an enemy. You could apply it to other stuff. NPCs. NPCs is another one. It's easier to say than NPC, and that's the thing, is that it's not an NPC in my game. In my game, mob is something that the player can control. The hero is a mob. So if I called it NPC, that would be inaccurate because the player is a mob. The player, the enemies, and the NPCs are all mobs. Mobile object is what mob stands for. And yeah, like people are saying, that's an old term. It's come and go. And the definition of mob probably has some different definitions. Like, I'm using it to be inclusive of the player, but I know for a fact that some like systems do not have it include the player, but I do. Are your barrels or the anvil mobs in my setup? No. The way my setup is, in my game, everything is a mob, or everything is a prop, or everything is an effect. So that's the three categories I have. I have the effects, like the attack animations, the fire, the impact, the smoke. Those are effects. I have the mobs, the mobile objects. These are the hero, the dummy, any of the enemies, any of the NPCs, and the player. The player mob is a mobile object. And then props. Props are just objects in the game. That includes the trees, the plants, the chests, the damage debris, the barrels, the boxes, the any decorations. Anything that has physicality to it, but doesn't really have any movement, any sort of behavior. So, mobs are things with behavior, and then effects are just additional, additional effects, which then lead into props. Props are just decorations and objects that you can interact with. Do I think my game is texture pack compatible, or mods even? Yes, that is something I've been very conscious of as I've been making all these recent code changes, because currently, I'm working on this level editor with the intent of being able to hand this over to modders or people that I can pay to help with level design. You can design levels by switching to this elevation view, and you grab a sign, and you can start painting in new elevations. So like I can put more over here, and when I go back to this regular view, it's here. So this game is very friendly in terms of making it, oh, and also you can make edits to this in real time. There's some weird overlap stuff sometimes, but overall it works. But then the question of texture packs or mods, if I go over to tile sets, I made sure to not organize it by image, it's organized by tile set. So it will be possible to change out the sprites, so you can change out the cliffs. So let's say I was in a different biome, like a snowy or, I don't know, a volcano biome, where these cliffs, like these grassy brown cliffs, you could swap those out with a completely different set, something that's like scarier or volcanic or snowy or icy. I don't know. There's no limits there, and that would work by quite literally swapping out the image, but the image has to match. Excuse me, the tile set layout. So let me pull this up real quick. Actually, I did kind of show this on an earlier stream, how this is what the tile set looks like currently. I think I'm going to bail on these at the bottom. I don't think I'm going to have the pinch ones. But what you would do for a map pack is you would literally create a new image that has the same, it doesn't even have to be the same dimensions. It could be bigger tiles if you wanted to. But essentially the same size, where you line up the tile positions in the same way that they're lined up here. And then when it gets loaded in through this tile set, that Lua that I made, any cliff, as long as it has this right format, will work. And same with the fluid. The fluid is things like the water, which I think currently I only have just the water. And it's animated. So in this case, it's this is the first frame, and this is the first frame. This is the second frame, and this is the second frame. And as long as you keep this format, you can swap this fluid out with something else, like lava or a pool of acid or something. The Real Dan, thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it. Is Godot flexible enough to make, oh, I don't know what your, some improvements. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with Godot enough to answer that. Can I write my own data access objects? Yeah, essentially. Everything in this game is custom coded. And the data gets saved to like save files and reloaded. All that stuff is custom coded with how it's implemented. So, what would you consider to be the most enjoyable parts of your development journey? What do I like adding and work on the most? I like adding new coding features. I like coding. I like adding new... Whoa. What the heck happened? This is broken. I don't know why this is broken right now. That's strange. But I like coding new features for the games. And there are times when I get burnt out on that stuff. And honestly, recently, I feel like I've been expanding my horizons where I'm starting to enjoy pixel art a lot more. In fact, I do pixel art on stream. That's something I never would have expected, but I do pixel art on stream somewhat regularly, and that's kind of cool. And level design, again, is something I never thought that I would enjoy, but over the past year, I've done so much of it that it feels a lot more natural to me. I think people in general like doing what they're good at, and I'm very good at coding, and I'm only kind of good at everything else. So coding is my favorite thing, making new features and all that. But art, I'm really picky with art. I like, it's more like there's some sprites that I'm good at making and some sprites that I'm not good at making. In fact, let's work on a sprite right now, because that would be a good thing to work on for the last 20 minutes or so. Speaking of pixel art, any thoughts about having entire levels as a single pixel art drawing and programming in collisions? That is something you could do. In fact, that would be the most performant way to do that, I think, because right now, there's a lot of, sorry, I forgot that I wasn't showing my game. There's a lot of logic and processing that goes into displaying all of these tiles in the correct spot. But here's the very important thing to consider, is if your whole level is just one big image, how do you do this? If these are just one big image, how can the player walk behind the platform like this? You can walk in front of it. That makes sense. But how could you walk behind it? And that's the big challenge. Is when it's processed in game and everything is layered up, you can have some layers over top of other layers. And in this case, it's like Y-sort ordering, where it's also considering the elevation. Since this slab of earth is higher elevation than the player, it gets rendered over top. And that's why splitting it up is helpful from a gameplay perspective. But it does require more processing power to do that, because now every frame, the game has to figure out, okay, where is everything at? We need to order them up and make sure that we're rendering it in the correct order. And that is somewhat costly. It's not free. It's definitely more costly than if it was one big image, one just giant background. But then I'm back to tiles pretty much. That's fine. I mean, what you could do is tile the whole level, except for the parts that have overlap issues, and then turn those into objects. And that is exactly what I did when I was working with tiled. So if you look at tiled, this is how I normally recommend people draw maps, is that you draw in the background tiles. So every tile that you see here is part of the background. There's no layering involved. So that thing that I just showed, if you this little illusion feature where you walk behind it would not work in this setup, because this tile section here is going to need to be in front of the player at some points and behind the player at some points. But in terms of tiles, you can just accept that all of these tiles that we see here are just going to be behind the player, and that's fine. That actually worked out for me for quite a while. But then you had things like the trees, like the blossom, or the boxes and all that stuff. These things have their own ordering as well. And you'll notice that there's no tiles for these. Like this blossom right here, this object right here, this is a tree, but you can't see it. It's just the tree definition. When it gets loaded into the game, it gets loaded in as an object that has that Y-sort ordering, and it'll get covered up by the player when appropriate, and it'll cover up the player when appropriate. Unlike these tiles. Now the tiles themselves have some height to them. Like I have the different layers too. I have these top layers. Anything that I would draw in the top layer would get drawn over top of everything else in case I wanted some kind of overhang or something. That's always an option. I see why you made the matrix map editor now. Yeah, I mean, that's a challenge in itself, but being able to edit all of this stuff in real time in the game, and I don't have to worry about the invisibility factor of all these objects. I can actually see things in real time. And there's more than just this, because I showed in other streams too how I can grab the pencil and you can place in more objects. So this is how decorating the game is going to look too, where you choose an object to place down and then you can go through. And then even better is I can click save. So I saved the map, and what that did is that saved the map data to here. So now I'm going to take this demo.json, I'm going to cut this and put this into the real Moonshire project so I can update it. I'm going to come up with a better system for overriding the previous map data, but now that I did that, I should be able to just open up the game, and all those barrels that I placed in are now in the game. It literally saved that data, and I can show this. It saved that save data to the JSON file that represents the level. So this is what the whole level looks like now. The whole level is just a big long JSON file with some like how many columns it has and what the dimensions are, its biome, some color stuff. But then after all of that, it's just telling us like what is the elevation, the apex of all of these different cells, what texture is on there, like what's on the ground, and there's fluid as well. We know where the water is. So it is a very long file, but now it's all contained in wow, this is a very, very long file. It's 3,400 lines long, but that's what it takes. That's what it takes. The map files for the old ones were really long too. Probably not this long. This is a little bit longer, I think, but it's hard to say. Please help me. How can I create a VHS plus CRT shader? I'm not actually sure. That would be a little bit complex because a VHS implies that there's like movement on screen, like distortion. And a CRT has like the bulb of the bulbiness to it. So it would just be a matter of warping the pixel positions a little bit. But I've never actually programmed something like that. That'd be interesting to try out. I think a cool idea would be that barrels could potentially drop some money coins. Yeah, definitely. I think that I had it in place. That's in place in the current Steam demo, but I need to put that back in this one too. How can you add saving to a game? Yeah, that's really challenging because what saving actually means is that if I pull up this is what the save data for the game looks like. It's very small. And by the way, I need to switch away from Windows Explorer. I'm officially so sick of Windows Explorer because it's so little and I can't read it. I cannot read this and I cannot make the text bigger. That is shocking. I am so mad. I cannot make this text bigger. But anyway, the save data looks like this. I have a bunch of JSON objects, JSON files, like items. I can see what items has the player collected. We can see all the tools that I've gotten unlocked, all the gear that has gotten unlocked. This is actually not... This is dumb. It should not save the gear category like this. That's kind of dumb. But it essentially just saves lists of which objects you have unlocked. And then when the game loads, it quite literally looks at this file, takes all of this JSON code, converts it into Lua data, loads it into the game, and then the game runs with all of these items like equipped and stuff. Has a bunch of shader code for iOS, including the bulge effect that could be edited to use with Love2D. Nice, yeah. I bet there's lots of open source projects that could help with that stuff. There's also a Love2D specific shader library called Moonshine. So there's a Moonshine. I'll go ahead and pull it up. It's just very ironic that it's called Love2D Shaders Moonshine. And actually, it's by a developer that I know. VRLD, he made something. I think he made the tiled implementation. Oh, he made Hump. Okay, so this developer has made lots of really important stuff like Hump. And this Moonshine GitHub repo has a lot of examples. And although I didn't really use these very much when I was like looking through all these things, it is still cool that this is here because it could be a nice reference. Here, like, look at this. There's a crt.lua. And this is public domain. So you could go to this URL if you wanted to and take a look at how Matthias handled it. But it has the distortion here. Actually, it looks like all it's doing is just offsetting it. This might be the bulb effect. Or actually, there's more logic down here. So a lot of the logic for some of these shaders happens in the update. It's moonlight and sunshine. Yeah. Have I written any lore yet? Oh, I've written lots of lore. The only thing is I haven't made any of it finalized. And really, the way I handle story and lore is going to be the game gets made and then the story gets implemented to suit the game. I really am not a fan of having a story and then making a game that suits that story, because I worry that limits the gameplay in some ways, or it kind of forces the direction of the game in a way that's not focused on fun, it's focused on fulfilling the story. So at the moment, I have lots of lore ideas and concepts and general plot points. I have a general outline of what I want to happen, but I'm not going to finalize and put anything like rich in story in the game until things are more in place, because the story should suit the game, not the other way around. I genuinely think that. What role is Moonshine going to play in that story? Moonshire. I mean, Moonshire is just the name of the place. The story is just that Moonshire is going to be destroyed unless you do something about it. The story that's in the Steam demo, I think, says distant, far-off lands or something like that, but I'm getting rid of that. The game takes place in Moonshire. Moonshire is just the name of the area. Will it be narrative heavy? No. I think I want it to be narrative heavy in the same way that like Elden Ring is narrative heavy. It's not. But there is a very good plot and a very good narrative. But it's not like you're not talking to people that much in that game. You talk to some characters and you get some knowledge through that stuff. But the story of Elden Ring or of like any of those games, it's told through like the environment and the experience, or like you're exploring a world where something happened and you're piecing it back together. For joining like new skills, yeah, let me show it off. Is the new skills involves a lot of jumping around. So the game has a jump button now, and you can like jump up elevation. There's a lot more verticality to the game now. But in terms of skills, you can crouch, and now you can like crouch jump and do a long jump like this, and you can chain them together. It's so fun. And you can triple jump out of it. And it keeps that momentum going. It's really, really fun. No filler, pure canon dialogue, basically. Dialogue will be only required, like, it would have to be useful. No filler, for sure. All killer, no filler. That applies to everything. So, when it comes to story and dialogue, all killer, no filler. When it comes to gameplay and stuff that happens in the game, all killer, no filler. So if something's boring or not interesting, if it's not the best version of what it's trying to be, there's no need to include it. Cool, looks awesome. Thank you. Have I ever been stuck on a single bug for weeks or even months? I've never for months. Months is pushing it, but I definitely have been stuck for weeks. Especially when I worked as a software developer in the industry, you get put with you get stuck with some very complex, challenging problems. There are some problems that are so insurmountable, it seems, that you have to like contact different teams and get other programs involved, you have to get management involved to get the resources needed to uncover the source of these bugs. It can be a long process to figure out the solution of some of these things. So although I can't think of something specific right now, I definitely have been. And it would have been a bug involving like why does this code behave differently when it's deployed to this cloud as opposed to being deployed to this cloud? It's normally something along those lines where it's like some environment setting, some spec ops issue is not working, not set up right. It's surprising how much, like, not necessarily IT work, but how much maintenance work goes into software. Because not all software developers have to do this, but when you create software, you also have to deploy that software, which means you have to get that software out in the world in a place where people can use it. And that is much easier said than done. Like, it's easy for me to make, well, it's not easy, but it's one thing for me to make a game on my computer, but it's another thing for me to get this game compiled in a safe, secure way and distributed onto the internet where other people can download the game, install it to their computer, and run it without any security risks. That is a really challenging problem. I worked mostly on Azure, right? Yep, that's what I worked on while I was at Microsoft. I had issues with case sensitivity on Android, which was very annoying. Yeah, Android gave me a lot of problems too when I implemented, it was called Tropical Spirit back in the day, but Necrozone. I have a mobile game called Necrozone, and mobile in general is deceptively difficult because there's a lot of like red tape and annoying aspects that you have to get through. Is the game like a big open world map, or do you actually have progress through levels? I plan for the game to be a not big open world, but a condensed, interconnected map. So I want the map to be like a grid of squares. Like this area that we're in right now is one of those cells of that map, and then when you go to the right, you move over to the next cell. So it's like a grid of isolated maps. My day job is creating and supporting businesses, our business accounting software for a specialized industry. Pure programming is a small percentage of my total time. Yes, I completely agree with that. And this is that's a funny thing that people don't really notice or really think about, is what percentage of your time is actually spent coding. I have had several coding jobs, and coding was definitely not even half of the job. It was much less, because you have to plan, you have to test, you have to review, you have to deploy, and you have to bug fix, and you have to research. Have you ever solved problems on LeetCode? Yes. When I was interviewing for jobs, I did a lot of LeetCoding. So LeetCode, for anyone who doesn't know, is a website full of programming problems, and they are programming problems that are specifically utilized by tech corporations to help with the interview process. So when you interview for a big tech company as a software developer, the interview process is very hard. They put you into a room and they ask you a really challenging coding problem, and without a computer, you have to go onto a whiteboard and write code out on a whiteboard to explain your solution to this coding problem. And that's not something that college prepares you for, and it's not something that the workplace prepares you for either. It's something that you have to specifically train and practice for, these coding interviews. And LeetCode is a website that is very helpful for planning all that stuff out, for organizing these problems in a way that you can practice them. Do I agree that a good game dev is a very good problem solver? Yeah, in general. I'd say so, yeah. If you're relating this to LeetCode, though, I do not find much value in LeetCode outside of the interview process. It's used very extensively for interviews, but the knowledge and skills that I gained from practicing those LeetCode problems was not very helpful for the job itself, and I have basically forgotten most of that stuff. Like, I could still probably do some of those, but it's all very academic. It's all about flexing your knowledge to the interviewers so that they know that they can trust you, that you can solve hard challenges. Like you were saying, a good game developer or a good software developer is able to be a good problem solver. And those interviews, those are problems. Those are some hard problems. So if you're able to problem solve through those interviews, that's a sign to the company that you're a hard worker and can get the job done, because they're going to give you some hard problems. That's the whole point of the interview process. It's so dumb because you barely use these data structures for the actual job. It's just for testing problem solving. In a way, yeah, it's like a rite of passage. 2 + 2 = 5 for exceptionally large values of 2. It's a programmer thing. Yeah, totally. It rounds up. Did I write test suites myself? When I was at Microsoft, yeah, we wrote our own test suites. But for this game, at the moment, it actually doesn't have any tests, any automated tests at all. I've been doing all the testing manually, and the mod Wolf helps with that too. Have I ever found a need for binary trees in Moonshire? No, I have not. I have not found a need for binary trees in any context of anything I've worked on ever, outside of interview problems, outside of academic classroom settings. That's the only place that, like, linked lists or binary trees, that's the only place I've ever used them. I'm sure there's places in the practical engineering space that they do use those, but the thing about software is that there's not a need to reinvent the wheel. Linked lists are something that you would use if you were reinventing the wheel, if you were re-implementing your code structure from the ground up. But if you're using a framework of any kind, it's going to provide anything that you can need. Like, there's functions already in place that can do anything that a linked list would need to do, or a binary tree. So why am I studying DSA? Because they're going to ask you about it in the interviews. That's genuinely why. Yeah, they're going to ask you about navigating binary trees and all the algorithms that go into that, and it's a very academic process. It's the same as like a CS degree. When you're studying a CS degree, they ask you a lot of data structures questions and a lot of academic stuff, a lot of terminology, but in the workplace, you don't really use that. And I don't think this is unique to game development or software development, by the way. I'm a CS person. I'm a software developer, by the way. I think that a lot of industries will have this problem. I don't know this for sure, but I imagine a lot of people who study engineering in college, I imagine that a lot of them don't use a lot of that engineering knowledge in their day-to-day, but by going through the coursework, it prepared them for the real world, because engineering school is very, very hard, and you have to do some really complex like math and challenges and projects and stuff. I don't know if they're using all of that super advanced like calculus and crazy mathematics that they use in engineering school. Maybe some of them do, but I do know that a lot of them do not. A lot of them just work at a desk and they write code all day, and nothing wrong with that. But by going through a coding, like an engineering degree, it is super stringent and really, really challenging. I would actually like to hear from engineers, engineering school students, because I didn't attend engineering school, but I know a lot of engineers, and I get the impression that the stuff that they teach you in college is similar to CS, where it's academic engineering versus practical engineering. There's academic computer science, and then there's practical like software development. That's kind of the distinction I'm trying to talk about here. Is there's times when something is mostly for research or I don't know, academics is what I keep saying, and then there's times when something feels more practical. It's like academics call them mutators, but practical people just call them setters. They're called accessors and mutators. That's the clinical term for them, but in the real world, you just call them getters and setters. I've never heard anyone in like the working world call something a mutator. That's very silly, but I definitely remember having to remember the term mutator for my algorithms class. I'm an engineer too, though. Yeah, I think in a way I am. My job title at my jobs was software engineer, but at the same time, I didn't attend the College of Engineering, and my degree is in computer science. I went to the Liberal Arts and Sciences College. I know for a fact that the engineering experience at my college was very different from the computer science experience. And I also know that engineer as a term it means something different to a lot of people. Like, I almost don't know if the term software engineer should be a thing, because engineer almost implies like a credential. It kind of, to me, implies that you are a certified engineer. And I think in a way it kind of does, but CS, like software engineers, you don't have that. There's no credentials. There's like you have a CS degree, but there's not really any like, there's no bar exam. I taught civil engineering for 16 years. We taught so much just to give the basic background. We didn't have much time to teach job-specific or software-specific items. I believe you. In the academic world, that's really cool, by the way, that you were involved with teaching civil engineering. That sounds really, really awesome. Yeah, I imagine that the balance of school work versus like practical job work, it's something you need to focus on both. You can't have one without the other. And if you went through college where you only focused on like LeetCode code problems to get into the software jobs, you wouldn't be prepared. You need the academic side in order to comprehend the practical side. So they're both important, but it is easy to kind of just like look at the practicality of any given thing and say, oh, is that useful or is it not useful? But yeah, on that note, I think I'm going to call it quits for the day. It was a really, really good stream. I really appreciate all your guys' input. We had a really good discussion and lots of cool stuff happened this stream. But I will be back next week for yet another Moonshire Monday, and I am eager to get back to it. Thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you all next week. Bye!